I'm so excited to chat with Riette Stevens on the Awaken Feminine podcast today. Riette is a women's mentor supporting women to bridge the gap from where they are to who they truly are, to find alignment with their truth while activating their inner peace within themselves and fully step into their creativity and confidence to build a magical life for themselves. And I know she has so much love and wisdom to share with us today. She's joining me all the way in New Zealand. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's an amazing experience, and I always love to connect with fellow awakened women.
Yes, I'm so excited for our conversation. We're going with the flow today. So I love these conversations because we never know where we're going to head to, but they're always the best conversations. But before we get started, Riette, what I'd love for you to do is really share with us what is your definition of an awakened feminine?
For me, it is finding peace with all parts of ourselves, being able to come into alignment and make peace with, the negative, the positive, and be in flow every single day, and finding that level of peace. I think we have so much self-hatred and, we beat up on ourselves so much. And the moment you find that self-love, and that acceptance and that forgiveness for your own mistakes and all parts of you. I feel like that's really stepping into being an awakened woman and showing up confidently in yourself and
Mm.
acknowledging your mistakes and taking responsibility for, just all of it, the creation that is yours. And yeah, you've been making it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's a beautiful definition. And I really do believe, that acceptance part is probably like the hardest part for most women, and men probably as well to get to because, we're so good at beating ourselves up when things don't go right, or going into victim mode. That acceptance and that responsibility, that part is takes a lot of work to get to. Yeah.
Yeah, and it takes courage and bravery, to say, I take responsibility. I created this, or not to, it's not to go into victim mode and not to go into blaming other people, but taking that responsibility and then also finding that forgiveness for yourself and saying, but it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to only know the next step and to walk forward in your path with I don't know everything, but it's okay not to know, and it's okay to just take every day another step and to be where you are in your emotional and your awakening journey, to have that acceptance of the emotions that want to be present, because you can only be where you are the moment you try to take yourself to another emotional level that's too far to reach. You kind of put yourself back. So it's making that taking that acceptance of where you are as well, I think.
Yeah, that's so true. And I totally resonate and agree with everything that you've just said. Um, this is side note, a bit of silliness, but like as you were saying that, just knowing the next right step. I know you've got kids as well, but I mean I've watched Frozen 2 like 10 million times probably. And there's a song in there when Anna's like, Olaf's gone and Elsa's she thought and then she's singing this song and yeah, she's talking about, taking the next right step and you might not know what it is and you might not know where it'll take you, but just taking the next step and the next step. I get really emotional when I talk about Frozen songs because they're actually quite deep, but it just reminded me of that because yeah, I think it's just so important that we trust ourselves and just, when things don't feel right or look right to just go, okay, I'll just go and do it and take myself out of this darkness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I feel that deeply,
I
that
was like,
and
oh
you
my God.
almost got me emotional too. Yeah,
Oh,
it's scary. It's scary to take that step and you don't know where it's going to take you. I know, many of us in our online journey, our businesses, being an entrepreneur. It's taking that step and being vulnerable and showing
Mm.
yourself. And it's, you don't know where it's going to go. And you don't have like, you, it doesn't matter how much you plan, it's going to find its way, for
Yes.
the growth, for the journey, for the experience that you need. And so it's scary,
Yes.
and yeah, emotional, like.
Yes, exactly. Which leads me to really wanting you to talk a bit more about you. So, your mission is really to help women to really step into their power to, in a nutshell, to step into the power to, create that life that they truly desire. What what is your journey that has led you to want to do this for other women?
For me, it's been ever since I was young, I kind of felt like I could feel the energy. And so when I'm talking about the energy, it's emotion. So I've really struggled with my emotional journey. And so it's been up and down and up and down, and it was trying to find that balance. And without that balance, you make negative choices in your life and you attract negative experiences. It's all just a ripple effect from what we're giving emotionally to the world. And for me, life really started to shift when I was able to find balance within that and make peace with those negative emotions that I kept shoving to the side. And I just didn't want to, you kind of hide from them, but you also overindulge in them. You can kind of like loaf in them.
Yes.
And it's just a balance that you need to find. And I was in a negative marriage, and all of this shifted, like even the way my children's dad started treating me. It's it all just shifted, from if you can hold yourself in a place where you set an energetic standard and you attract different things into your life, a different experience, a different reality. And a few weeks ago, I even spoke to a friend of mine that I was in high school with, and we talked on the phone, and she was recalling memories. But I remember previous conversations I've had with her. She's remembering me different than
Mm.
the way I used to be in high school. And it blew me away. And I knew, I've shifted reality. So even memories for other people can shift. You can make that, quantum leap into, and they remember you differently, or they see you differently, or, it's very fascinating for me, what you can do with energy and where you can take your life and how you can just go on a different path, and it all starts within you. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I've seen the changes I've made in my own life, and I've been able to make for other people that's been beating up on themselves and just stepping into that new emotional state. What has come from it is beautiful and magical when you find peace with yourself.
That is so cool what you've been able to do. Isn't it wild that, your friend from high school talking about memories and you're like, what?
Yeah, it was kind of it took me back, and I walked with it for a few days, and I thought, how is she seeing me that way now? Like she's seeing my life experience differently, or the way I did things differently than she did before. And it's not the first person that I've like come into interaction with, and I think it's part of like shifting into a new reality. I had a wonderful conversation with a fellow mentor the other day, and
Mm,
she spoke about can you really believe you can shift your reality? Because I used to believe, like, if my parents aren't working on their personal growth, they can't come with me into my new reality. And she said, but do you really then believe you are the creator of your reality? Because if you are, from the shift you internally make, you can have people shift, that your reality can just shift. And
yes.
it was a very big like aha moment for me. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, my dad can treat me. in the way that I would like, show me the support that I would like. My mom can, if I choose that reality, because everything is kind of parallel as well, and you
Yeah.
can make the shift.
I absolutely love that because, having, being on this journey, and it is like the people around you do shift. What they say, the very cliche, if you heal yourself, you give permission for the people around you to heal. And also it actually just heals them without them actually knowing in a way, right? And yeah, I totally resonate with exactly everything you said because my relationships with my relationship with my parents have changed so much since I have been doing the work. And it blows my mind how it works, but it does. But it is, like you were saying about the awakened feminine is, taking that brave step. It takes courage to actually go and look at your shit, right? Look at all
Yeah.
the all your stuff because we don't want to go there. Um, yeah, yeah, it's just so cool. I was just like, oh yeah, that is so true. I wanted to actually jump back a bit and talk about you said you were in a, toxic marriage. Do you mind, and I know there are probably lots of people, listening to this who probably may not, it might be it's not toxic, but they may be in a marriage where they're not happy or something needs to shift. Can you talk a bit more about how you got yourself to that stage where you were able to go, enough is enough, I need to walk away? Or, for people that are listening who don't want to walk away, but like, what they can do to just, change their reality.
Yeah, so it's always kind of difficult for me to put it into words. When you're in a situation like that, you can't think clearly. And it was a ripple effect and it was spiraling, and it came to a point where, I had to leave. I had to leave. And I think from leaving, I think many people keep themselves stuck in situations like that because they fear they don't have anywhere to go, they don't know what to do. And that was exactly my situation. And it was really difficult to make that choice to leave. But in leaving, I was able to heal. You cannot really heal in a situation like that. And, from me healing, like I said earlier, the relationship has changed as well in a sense of what was happening before, the toxic behavior, all of the things. And so I don't really always like to label things because once you put a label on it, it's really hard to remove the label as well. If you want to shift, you have to leave it open. So I don't like to label it, but it was a really toxic environment. There was abuse, but it's shifted, and it comes from healing and doing the inner work. But you can't really think clearly in that circumstances. So you have to, I would say, remove yourself. And again, it comes to strength, and it comes to courage, and it comes to trust and faith in the unknown and in God, the universe, knowing that you will be supported. And it's taking that one step at a time every single day is really just what got me through, trust, because without that, I wouldn't be where I am at the moment. And so focusing on you and just healing and a lot of breath work, breathing through the pain. There's so many techniques, and I share it. Um, Whoever is listening, if you are in a situation like that, feel free to reach out to me. Like, there's a lot of things you can do, a lot of techniques to help you to move through that pain and that you know energy that's in your
Mm,
body that's been created by the situation.
yeah. What's the most what's been the most like helpful um breathing technique that helps, something that's quick and easy that people can just, kind of do very quickly? I mean, obviously there's, more in-depth and involved ones, but what's your go-to to just go, all right, I just need to just shift very quickly?
So I sit up straight, and then I'm pulling the energy from the bottom all the way up into my head, holding it for about 5 counts, and then releasing it, just acknowledging I'm releasing it. Um, like say anger, if you're feeling anger, you're pulling it up all the way to the top of your head, you hold it and you release it. And it's just a lot of quick breaths like that, but use power, as much power as you can to pull the energy up. It's mostly energy that wants to be released. Like you can do it with dance. Many people, go sit in your car and have a good scream if you have to, like release it, like allow it to come out. It needs to go somewhere. If you keep leaving it in your body, it makes you sick. It makes you emotionally
Mm.
unstable. That energy builds up, but it can be used to its creation. If you're sitting and you're breathing, you can have positive thoughts and say, and you push this energy towards a higher purpose that you want it to create. All energy is there for creation. You can use even negative feelings and emotions towards positive outcome. If you sit with a clear intention and you pull that energy into your head, pushing it to its thoughts of, a positive outcome that you want to happen in your life, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes, it does. Is really transmuting that energy to what you want it to be used for.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is very powerful. Thank you for that little, breathing technique for, our listeners who might just go, oh, that's great. I can use that next time something comes up, or, just feel that, that there's a need for release. Yeah. Um, and going back to trust, this is a topic that I think I talk to a lot of guests about, but it is one of the hardest things for people to do. Can you share with us what how you built trust into your life, in like trusting guidance, trusting yourself, just trusting that you are supported? How did you build that in? How did you build that muscle to continue to trust?
That's a very interesting question. Yeah, so I think I talk a lot on this gratitude, right? If you take the emotion of gratitude, I don't know if it's similar in your life, but I said up until a few years ago, I never really experienced gratitude. And I've listened to someone speak on this before as well, where she said, in your childhood, you're being told, say thank you, say thank you. But I didn't want this. And then she says, say thank you. And I think many times in our lives, we've been told to say thank you, even when we don't deeply feel gratitude. And I realized there was like one experience in my childhood when I got a purple bike, and it felt like actual excitement. I got what I wanted. I got what I asked for. But only once I've really realized what gratitude is and I could find it in a meditation, I could recall, oh, that was a moment in my life where I truly felt gratitude. But I've been missing it for so long, thinking, I'm saying thank you, I'm saying I'm grateful. But there's a feeling, that's gratitude, that I can put with gratitude now that I couldn't put with it before. And I think that's the same with trust. We throw the word trust around often and a lot, and we say, I trust. But there was a moment in time where trust really, it was all I had, so I had to like make a shift. And there's a different feeling to having real internal trust and faith and saying, I'm jumping off of this bridge, I'm jumping out of this plane, things that I've done as well, and I'm purely just trusting I'm going to survive this and I'm going to make it to the other side, because you don't have a guarantee, And I think that is very important, an important message to share.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it does. I really love how you talked about the energy, like finding that energy of gratitude and finding that energy of trust to then be able to continue and recognizing it, as you move along your journey. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool way to put it, to demonstrate how it goes. And gratitude is something, yes, that I've brought into my life, probably in the last 7 years or so. But before, like you said before, it's I always took things for granted before. It's just like that's how it is. That's just my life. Things just come to me. Never really being grateful for it, even though, I had, not that I have a bad life now, but I had everything was good, and it's then now when I know what gratitude is, and I go, okay, all these things, I truly am grateful for it. Like that's why I've got this amazing life now, all these things that have happened, even like some of the bad things that have happened in my life. There's still that sense of gratitude now when I think about it. Obviously, when you're in the depths of it, you're like, I'm so not grateful for this right now,
Yeah.
right? But
Definitely.
when afterwards you're like, oh, thank goodness that happened because of that, that's led me to this place and that place and etc. So yeah, I just love how it's really finding that recognizing the energy, and then from that continue to remind yourself of that energy and finding it in all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Y- yeah, no, definitely. I think, it's hard during the difficult times to find gratitude, to feel people say, "Oh, be grateful," and that's how you're gonna change things. But when you're in it, you kind of just feel like there's nothing to be grateful for, but your expansion comes from it, your energy shifts, you awaken even more, you get a deeper understanding from it. There's always growth. Um, and like you said, afterwards, you realize and you feel grateful for the experience because without the experience, you wouldn't, be where you are now or have the new perspective on life. If you didn't go through it, I many times say, even when I'm talking like to my sister, she's going through some difficult things, and then I'm just saying to her, I can tell you everything now. I can tell you, oh, but just think about it this way. But until it clicks for you, it just someone can say the words multiple times to you, and it won't, you won't feel it, take it on. It's kind of just words that's being thrown at you. But the moment it clicks, there's like a deeper understanding, and you're like, oh, so this is what people have been talking about when they say the exact words, that you've been hearing, but it just has a deeper meaning, a different understanding to it.
Mm. Yes. Yes, totally resonate with that because yeah, like I think in the personal development, spiritual like realm industry, everything that is taught is like people package it or call it different things, but really is the same thing. But you just need to find that right person that speaks your language for you to go, oh, that's what it means. But when you listen to someone else, you're like, oh, that's actually exactly the same as this person, but they've just called it something
Exactly.
different. So yeah, but it is so it always sometimes baffles me when people are like, in that scarcity mindset of, oh, if I share my knowledge, then, this person will take all my business, or like, they'll have all my friends, but I won't have any. But it's, everyone has their own tribe, has their own energy, has their own way of doing things. And you're not going to be liked by everyone. And you're going to have to
Yeah.
be okay with that. Right.
Yeah, that's exactly. And they could have heard it from someone else before, but it's coming from you. And from you, it kind of just lands with them, it's the light bulb moment that they get from you, and they can't get it from somebody else. It's all about, it's been destined, it's been aligned. So nobody can take really anything from you. We're just withholding things from ourselves, from not wanting to show up fully because we fear,
Mm,
it's our own beliefs and our own fears that's holding us back. But everything's available, and the right people will find you, um, because that's just how it is, and it's
yeah,
beautiful that it is that way. And it's also going to be in divine timing.
yeah,
It's all meant to be, and it's finding that peace with, I'm here for the long haul. I'm here for the journey. I'm here for the expansion. So every day you're showing up and, it's not that I want it now. It has to happen now. And we can get into that. Like it has to happen now. I'm not far enough. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. But are you
yeah,
really? Like we can just sit back, take a breath, realize that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And it's beautiful where you are. This moment matters. This moment is a beautiful moment in time that we can lean into, and get from that hustle mode of getting somewhere new, somewhere better. Because I think you might have awakened to it as well. Like the new, the better, it only lasts for a few seconds. It really is in the journey,
mm,
that it feels really good in what am I creating? I want to feel the experience. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for that reminder. I needed to hear that. As much as I know that everything's perfect, I think I'm talking about myself, but I know probably a lot of people do feel the same way. You just want things now. I want things yesterday. I wanted things last year or 3 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
But it is, thank you for that reminder because, like this year, I've had all these, I took December off, to just have a break, and I had all these ideas and things come through. And it's like, okay, I want to create all these things, but I'm also telling myself if it all goes according to my timeline, it will all happen. But I'm not being attached to it. I'm just going to let whatever is meant to be created this year be created.
Yeah, it's we create our timeline, and it usually doesn't go according to our timeline or my experience. So
Yes.
I've kind of given up on that that as well, because I just frustrate myself in creating that timeline, because now you're looking for it and it's getting closer to the date and you're looking for it. And the longer you look for it, the more we are withholding ourselves from it. So I've been the same. Like this year, it's all just about choices of who I'm going to be in in this year of 2023. But I'm not going to create that timeline or say, oh, I'm going to do this and this, and because it throws you off of your peace.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. It makes you get anxious. I didn't realize how anxious I was all this time when I was holding on to the timelines, because
Yeah.
I've always been like a type A overachiever, that kind of personality. So, I've always been really highly strung and anxious, and being able to just kind of detach myself, still learning, still like hard, but you actually do feel like, oh, I don't need to like do this right now. It makes such a big difference to your whole energy and then your whole way of being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to do something feeling forced, it's not as great as it is when it's in flow. So I've been more of, just one step at a time so that it feels flow. Because when I work with a strategy and I have to do this and I have to do this, you lose some of your creativity, you lose your spark for it if you try to put too much structure on what you're doing, because our creativity is more just ease and flow, and it comes and goes
Mm,
at its own time, and it's about allowing that to not be programmed, because it can't really, I feel like, in my personal experience,
Yeah.
the most unexpected moments, I will get the most amazing creative idea, and I'm not in a space to put it down. And I just have to like memorize it, or I'm making a quick voice note of like, oh my goodness, this is the best idea. And
Yeah.
it wasn't planned or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to jump back because this question has been replaying in my head to ask you when we were talking about gratitude, and we just kind of went off because I just started asking you all these other questions. But as we were talking about gratitude, and even for things that may not have, we may not have deemed to be great in the past, what I want to find out from you, what was that? Have you had something where, something not so great has happened and now you're really actually grateful for that experience?
Yeah, I've had many experiences. I think that I felt there was a time that I was in a really bad financial situation, and I didn't really have a place to stay after my breakup with my marriage. And it was me and my kids and things. And I I was in a really difficult situation, and I'm very grateful for it now, because what I did was I went inwards, and I actually just sat and said, you know what, you're gonna feel satisfied, you're gonna feel okay with this moment, you're gonna make yourself feel okay. And it was for about a week that I really just focused on meditation, and I went inwards and I sat with myself in kind of the worst situation that you can possibly imagine. And from that, opportunities came my way, things came my way, and it's because I went inwards. And it's really, I think it was a big stepping stone in my life in having, again, faith and trust. Because in previous situations, I was going out looking for work, and I'm this side and I'm this side, I'm doing all the things, like I'm hustling, I'm going to make this work, I'm going to make it happen. And then everything kind of would just fall down again. It fell apart. And in that time, it kind of just fell apart. And I said, you know what, you cannot continue on this path. And I went inwards, and I really made a shift in that time. So I'm very grateful that it happened in my life, because it got me to a place of peace within myself now.
Wow. Wow. That's so amazing. You know, when you hear people in the situations where, they don't have a place to stay and financially they're not in a great place, and to go from I'm going to make this work, hustling and doing all the things, to going within and then things just happen around you, you can't deny that you're not supported by the
That's
universe, by
very
God,
true.
whatever your beliefs are. And that's beautiful. I'm getting a bit emotional. But it's just like, um I'm really bad. I always cry.
Oh, that's
um
okay.
um yeah, not many podcasts that I cry on, but there are certain ones where it's just like, ah. um yeah, but yeah, it's just beautiful to know how supported we are, you
That
know
is, that is.
yeah.
And it's a realization you have to find within yourself. And I don't know what journey some of the listeners had to go on to find that, but sometimes things keep going a certain way because you have to find out, what, you can't control everything. If you surrender and you give up, like it was a moment of I'm giving up, I'm giving in, because I can't rely on my physical capabilities to make this better, to make
Mm,
this work. And it feels so completely heartbreaking, and you feel like you're failing. I'm failing my children, I'm failing in life, I'm just such a failure. And it is from that place where you're just saying, you know what, please just, if you can only do one thing for me today in this meditation, make me feel better. And that's literally what I would sit and say in my meditation, and I would feel this unconditional love and this bliss inside of me.
Mm.
And I would just want to stay there because,
Yeah.
I'm feeling better.
Yeah.
That's that's all I was reaching for in that moment of, feeling
Yeah.
like everything's just broken down. And yeah, it's a beautiful journey, and I'm so happy and thankful that I can share it with you today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing and making me cry. Because it's just so beautiful, such a beautiful story that you have there, and just a reminder to just have faith and trust. And you just reminded me of the card that I pulled from. I pulled a card from The Universe Has Your Back. I love Gabby Bernstein, and I think
Oh, you
I
do.
think you do too.
Yes.
And I can't remember the exact words, but the card that I pulled out was along the lines of, when I surrender and kind of like detach myself from the outcome, then the universe can get to work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
which is
Honestly, in
our
that time, I
conversation,
was
really.
reading that book. So I was reading that book in that time as well. So it's really amazing that you brought that up just now.
Yeah, because I just pulled that card, and that was the card that came out, and your story pretty much is that card that I pulled out this morning. So that is
Yeah, oh,
really, really
wonderful.
cool. So is the universe has your back a book that you would recommend to people, or are there any other books or podcasts or tools that you would recommend other people? That people is like a something that they need to read to help them shift in their lives.
Yeah, I definitely recommend The Universe Has Your Back because it was a life changer for me. I got that book for free from somebody, and it just traveled with me, and I would read pieces out of it. But I never really felt like it made a big, big impact. And there was during the time that I'm talking about now as well, where I really took that book, and it's about the unconditional love she speaks in that book. And I think through that, I was able to get into that meditation of just sitting and, shower me with the unconditional love, for me to truly feel that love and support from the universe, of, just knowing that even in this farewell time of my life, I can feel that love because I didn't feel that love for myself at the time. I didn't feel I was so much loved by the people in my environment because, you feel shame. So you're kind of hiding yourself. You're not really connecting so much with everyone. So for me, I was calling on the unconditional love from the universe. And if you read that book, you will see she speaks a lot on, just knowing how loved you are and
Mm,
surrendering to that love.
yeah, it is such a wonderful book, and I also highly recommend it. My life-changing book was Super Attractor, also by Gabby
Oh,
Bernstein, but that was the one that changed things for me. Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
So what part of it, like, how did it help you?
It helped me connect to spirit, because at that time I was doing my life coaching certification, and that book was recommended to me like before that, but I was like, oh, I don't even know what it is. And then somehow I bought it and started reading it, and there was a part in there about connecting to your spirit guides, or I think it was guardian angel. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do this, not expecting anything. It was a journaling one. And I remember going, okay, do the exercise. Okay. And she says, like, once you feel like you can write, then you can, start writing. And it was like, what happened? Because I was scribbling. I wasn't actually writing words, but I could hear someone talking to me and giving me messages and telling me all these things about who I am and da 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 da. Da. But because it was coming in so fast, I couldn't actually write. It was more like, I was just scribbling away on the page, but I was hearing these messages. And from that's when everything started to shift for me spiritually. Yeah.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
yeah, so that was like, well, what just
I feel
happened?
like the power in that, full body chills that I'm getting.
Yeah, so
Wow.
that's yeah, and then after that I read Universe Has Your Back and I was like, oh yes, this is so beautiful as well. She's amazing. So any book by Gabrielle Bernstein, I
Yeah,
highly recommend.
me too.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the time and just such a beautiful conversation with you, Riette, and I'm so grateful for our time together. I wanted to ask you a couple of more questions before we wrap up. And first one is that, you talked about self-love at the beginning and how, how it's important, well, for Awakened Feminine and how it's important really to get through your journey as well. What is, because self-love, I'm like losing my words. So self-love was like, for me, one of the biggest lessons for me in my journey. So I want to find out from you, what does self-love mean to you? And what are the things that you do to ensure you give yourself that self-love?
Oh, that's such a good question. Self-love for me, I think mostly I've attached self-love to self-acceptance, because um, before, without having self-acceptance, I don't know, I couldn't love myself. I had to first accept, because I don't know about you, but I beat it up on myself a lot. Like I would rather find the fault with me than I would find the fault with anybody else, and from everything in my life, I was always saying in my marriage as well, but I'm trying to do better. And I would cry, and I would just beat up on myself so much. And it came to a point where I had to, just accept, that I'm not broken, that I'm not a terrible person, that I'm really just human, and what I've lived and everything has caused me to be who I am today. But also knowing the illusion of the terrible, terrible things I've been telling myself, like coming to that full realization and saying, it's not true. None of it is
Yeah.
the truth. It's just what you've been telling yourself. You're not that person that you're making up in your head. You're not that person. And I think self-love is, recognizing that voice, that inner critic, and recognizing who you truly are and finding balance with that, and not, because I think from realizing I'm not that voice, you kind of get into this argument with yourself, because now you're trying to silence the voice. So now you're mad at the voice and you're fighting with the voice. And it becomes a thing again. So it's just, accepting all of it, because it's also just a part of you. It is there.
Mm.
It's there. And so yeah, just self-acceptance, I think, is self-love, in a big way. I hope that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank you for sharing that. That's really beautiful. And Riette, just one, actually, no, I've got two more questions still. I'm like, wait. Um, the if you were able to time travel back to a younger version of yourself, what is that like that one key piece of advice that you would like to tell younger Riette?
Oh, that's a very tricky question. Younger Reed. Uh, I think you, I think it's just to be more myself. To stop hiding away.
Mm,
Um, because it's really the parts of you that you don't want to share that's loved the most by
yes.
people.
You're gonna make me cry again. That's really beautiful. Yes. Thank you. And that's such a beautiful message for not just younger Riette, but anyone that's listening right now as well. I'm going to start crying again, so I'm going to start wrapping up. And the last question for you is, Riette, what is currently setting your soul on fire?
What's really setting my soul on fire is to help people to, live for the experience. I'm very excited. I'm creating experiences. So there's things that I want to experience in my life. And I think I've kind of just gone from, taking everything so seriously to, I want to try that. I want to feel what this feels like. So I'm creating it. And it's really fascinating to me currently in my life how easily it can come in when you change your energy of why you're creating something. So creating the experience for I just want to feel what it feels like. I want to feel what it feels like when my video goes viral. I want to feel you're just creating something for the experience. And like when it's happening, you're like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like. And that's why we're living. And I feel like, it's an important thing that I'm going to share much more of in the future, but I'm playing I'm playing with this a lot and
Yeah.
enjoying it. So that's my mission, to just create experiences for I want to feel what it feels like.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun. And that's really awesome. And by the way, my word for the year is play. So I was like, oh, yes.
That
It's,
sounds amazing.
yeah, so important. So thank you so much, Riette, for sharing your love and wisdom with us today. I've just really, really enjoyed our conversation. If people want to find out more about you or how they can work with you, where's the best place to find you?
Facebook mostly. Reed Stevens on Facebook, my personal profile. Yeah, it's the best
Perfect.
place to look for me.
Okay. Well, I'll have all your details in the show notes so people can reach out to you. Thank you so much once again for this beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful. Thank you. It's been
Thank you.
amazing.